What is going on, guys? This is Daniel, and I'm back with my third part of my NBA draft series, this time taking a look at small forwards. And before I even show you my rankings, let me just say this is a deep small forward class. You have star power at the top, and even outside of my top 5, lots of quality role player potential players. Well, here in my rankings, you have a few players in the 70s, which is excellent, and players in the middle of my top 10 who could become very solid role players in the mid-60s. Well, let's get to it. Andrew Wiggins, the hype freshman out of Kansas University. He's 6'8", and you all know he's an incredible athlete. He possesses great length, and there's no doubt he can be a terrific defender at the next level, as he was one in college. He's a good rebounder, and he's unselfish. And he possesses a good shot, but that's one of the things he needs to improve. Some scouts were underwhelmed that he was inconsistent as a freshman, and he was a bit passive. Needs to bulk up as well, but this guy can contribute right away to an NBA team that has the long-term potential that has scouts salivating. Jabari Parker out of Duke, and the reason he's not quite as highly rated as Wiggins is because he has a few more notable weaknesses. He's not the best lateral athlete, but a good athlete in general. He's just an average defender, and he could use to improve his shot selection. But don't get me wrong, he's the most NBA-ready player out of this whole draft, and I think he'll win Rookie of the Year. He's a strong forward who's a very good outside shooter who can create his own shot and finish nicely at the basket. And he's an even better rebounder than Wiggins. I would not take him first like many would, but he's definitely worthy of a top 5 selection. KJ McDaniels is certainly one of my sleepers, and even though he plays small forward, not shooting guard like Tony Allen, I like the comparison because they're both great athletes who play incredible defense. KJ McDaniels also rebounds very well and is a good finisher at the basket, and despite him not being a good outside shooter, he shot an impressive 84% from the line this past season at Clemson. Now, like mentioned, he's not a very good outside shooter, and his overall offensive game lacks polish, but he's not a terrible offensive player as he averaged 17 points per game in college. I can certainly see him with a Tony Allen type role in the NBA and would be a steal late in the first round. You may be asking, who is Damien Inglis? Well, that's why I'm here. He's a 6'9" small forward with a 7'3" wingspan out of France. He just turned 19 in May. He's a strong player, and where he really makes his mark is on defense, where he's an outstanding defender using his length and strength. He's also an excellent rebounder who is almost like a point forward out there, as he is an excellent passer. Now, those are some very notable strengths, and he has some very notable weaknesses as well. He's just an average shooter at this point, possessing solid mechanics but is inconsistent. He's an average athlete, and there are concerns whether he can create his own shot at the next level. But in my opinion, his strengths far outweigh the negatives. His physical gifts are very impressive, and the fact that he's so young leaves lots of optimism for the future. Why he's a projected second round pick is beyond me. This guy deserves to be a first rounder. Moving on, Jerami Grant out of Syracuse is a 6'8" small forward who is an elite athlete, and although he was in a 2-3 zone in college being at Syracuse, he has all the tools to be a very effective defender at the next level. He's also a very good rebounder and is a good finisher at the basket. But like some of the other players we've mentioned, he lacks shooting ability and lacks polish to create his own shot, and is a raw offensive player. But this guy can do the dirty work, defend, rebound, and he should be a solid pick for some team in the first round. Doug McDermott, one of the best college players in recent memory out of Creighton, and what this guy can bring to the table is obvious. He's an outstanding shooter with range, he can create his own shot, and his money from the foul line, shooting 86%. Now, he's just an average athlete, and where the real concerns are is on defense, averaging only 0.2 steals per game, and he seems to be a pretty big liability at that end of the floor at the next level. He's also already 22 years old. He definitely will have a role in the NBA because of his shooting, but his minutes may be limited because of his defense. Melvin Ejim, he's projected to go undrafted, but he is definitely one of my sleepers, being one of the best players in college basketball this past season. He's a very strong player with good size for a small forward, a great rebounding player, and he's a terrific athlete with great touch around the basket. Now, he is already 23 years old, just a decent shooter and an average defender, but I think he can be a player at the next level who can rebound, score around the basket, and he doesn't have any major game-changing weaknesses. Glenn Robinson, I think he can stick in the NBA. He's an elite athlete who is a very good defender, and that's where he'll need to make his mark at the next level. He's a good finisher around the basket and is unselfish. Now, he isn't a good outside shooter at this point, which is concerning. He's a mediocre rebounder and doesn't have the hottest motor. But he can hopefully develop. He's still young and is a good gamble late in the first round. Cleanthony Early out of Wichita State, again someone I think can stick. He's an excellent athlete, and that helps him be a terrific offensive player. He's a good outside shooter, can create his own shot, and is efficient from the foul line. Now, he's just an average defender, and he doesn't seem to have the greatest basketball IQ, a poor passer, add in the fact that he's already 23 years old, and he's not a hugely tantalizing prospect. But he's a good scorer and a solid NBA prospect. Lastly, Rodney Hood out of Duke, and he's similar to CJ Wilcox out of Washington in the fact that he has good physical tools. He's 6'8" and is a very good athlete, and like Wilcox, he can really shoot it. But also like Wilcox, besides shooting, there's not too much he can really bring to the table. He's an average defender, and his motor is fairly passive, not a good rebounder, and there's concerns whether he can create his shot in the NBA. The best situation for him is to be drafted by the Bulls in the mid-first round, where he can become a 3-and-D player, improving his defense, and he could become a very solid NBA player. But at this point, he's a bit overrated. Well, there you have it, guys. This is an extremely deep small forward class. You have guys from 1 to 10 who could be very solid NBA players. I didn't even get to Warren, Wiggins, Parker, potential stars, and power forward rankings will be out in a few days. Well, have a good one.